Maintenance is often associated with just being stagnant, but that's far from the truth. It's actually an amazing place to be in, and for most of us, it's where we should ideally be at most of the time. At maintenance, you'll be able to get stronger, build and develop an amazing and great relationship with food, and also lose body fat and build muscle at the same time, otherwise known as body recomposition. And there's nothing wrong with you for occasionally gaining weight, especially right after coming out of a diet, and we'll get to that in a second. And this is a breakdown of our conversation today. Do not skip over things. Do not skip around, because all of these things are important for your success. I've done the work and I've cut out all of the fluff and I've only put in the important parts, so please do not skip anything. All right, getting into some mindset things. Some weight is going to come back on, especially right after the dieting phase. As you increase your food, as you increase the amount of carbohydrates you're eating, you're gonna be holding on to more water. Just expect that, right? So you can expect a large influx of weight right in the beginning, and then over the course of the few weeks, these things should taper off. And we also have to set the proper definition of maintenance. And when we think of that, most of us think of a very specific number, and maintenance is actually a range, right? Give or take 5 to 10 pounds. And that's gonna be determined on what you feel comfortable with. For me, I like to stay within that 10-pound range. That's what I feel comfortable with, but maybe for you, it's 5. Maybe for you, it's like 15 pounds. So determine what you feel most comfortable with. All right, lastly, I just wanna mention weight fluctuations. Those are gonna be normal. You're gonna have highs, you're gonna have lows, just like how you had highs and lows during your weight loss phase, you're going to be having them at maintenance as well. And that's totally normal, that's totally fine. All right, let's dive into some of the hard tactics, so the more practical things that you can apply into your life. And let's talk about our nutrition first. So I want you to set an extra 1 to 6 weeks after your dieting phase. So if you've determined you're going to be dieting for 12 weeks, 8 weeks, or maybe you came off of a diet and there wasn't really a time frame, I want you to set an extra 1 to 6 weeks where you reverse out of it. And this time is just as, if not more important than the diet itself, because most of us don't have a weight loss problem. You've already lost weight. You've probably done it in the past before. We have a weight maintenance problem, right? It's the problem is being able to keep it off. And that's why this part of the dieting process is so important. So how are we gonna approach this? One of the biggest issues that we see is keeping hunger at bay, right? How do we reduce our hunger? So the best thing that you can do for this is keeping your foods the same foods that you were eating in your fat loss phase. Continue that into your maintenance phase. In the beginning, you're just eating a little bit more. On top of that, we want to keep prioritizing the lean protein and also the fiber. Those things will keep hunger at bay as you're transitioning out of your diet. And eating the same foods is so important, because at the end of your diet, your body, your hormones are going to be fighting against you. Your hunger will be through the roof, your cravings will be through the roof. You're essentially, it's a pendulum swinging, right? You've dieted and then now it has to come back the other way. And so all of these things are gonna be kicked up into high gear at the end of your dieting phase. And that's why we want to minimize the hyper palatable foods or the really tasty foods. Think about the chips and the cookies and all of these things, because it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to moderate your portions and to control all of these things, right? So keep palatability, or how good the food tastes, to a minimum. And as the weeks go by, you can start to slowly increase it. But right after the dieting phase, it's really important to keep that at a minimum. So don't go crushing your Cheetos into your mac and cheese just yet. I've never had that before, but sounds good. So how much more food should you be eating per day as you come out of the diet? It depends on how intense your dieting phase was. It depends on how long it was. But if you're just ready to crack, if you are gonna go off the rails, I would immediately bump that up 300 to 500 calories right away. And you just have to expect that there is going to be a large spike in body weight. And then again, it's gonna taper off, but just kind of expect these things. But if you're okay and cravings aren't too high, hunger is all right, it's manageable, I would bump that up by 200, keep that for a week, and then over the course of the next 1 to 2 weeks, maybe you're bumping that up 100 calories, keeping that the same for another 2 to 3 weeks, seeing what your weight does. If it's maintaining, beautiful. If it keeps going up after 3 weeks, maybe you drop that back down by 100 calories, see what your weight does for another 3 weeks, and that's how you figure out your maintenance at this point. All right, so how do we keep the weight off after losing it? I like to slowly add in flexibility and slowly start to add in more free meals over the course of the week. I like adding at least one free meal into my online coaching clients' programs, and that just depends on their goals and their timelines. And another way to think about that is like cheat meals. I don't like the association that that word has, and words matter. And eating off plan or not following a specific structure isn't cheating. That's a healthy relationship with food. And then over the course of time, you can start to add in 1, 2, but just be mindful about where that goes. And if you've been tracking this whole time and kind of feel burnt out with all of that, at least have some guidelines to follow. So like I was saying, same foods, but different amounts or higher amounts. Maybe that's meal frequency, so 3 meals, 1 snack. Keep the guidelines, keep the guide rails for you to stay within without needing to track your calories right now. And that might even look like not fully macro tracking, but just keeping mindful about your calories and your protein, and that's fine too. What about your activity and your training? I would say keep that the same for the first week as you're making changes to your nutrition. And I also think it'd be wise for you to lower the intensity of your cardio sessions if you were doing that. So doing more zone 2, more casual, leisurely activity, because the higher the intensity, the higher the hunger response from that activity. So slowly transitioning back into that. And over the course of time, maybe you're reducing the amount of cardio you're doing and then just going to a more general way to measure your activity, like a step count. And like I mentioned in the beginning, this is an amazing time to shift your focus into performance, getting really strong in the gym, building some muscle. And if you weren't focused on strength training during your fat loss phase, this is an amazing place to start to really see significant gains in a short amount of time. This is a great opportunity to build more muscle so that you can be more lean and defined. And lastly, it's important for you to find a way to get active that you actually enjoy and put that into your weekly rotation. And that might change with different seasons of your life. So whether that's jujitsu or rock climbing or hiking, walking, whatever it is, and it's okay if your interests change over time, but I think it's really great to have a form of activity that you can do on a weekly basis that you actually enjoy. And a big bonus if it gets you plugged into an amazing community as well. All right, let's go over other important guidelines for you to follow or keep in mind as you're going through this. The first one is keep prioritizing your sleep. And if you weren't doing this during your fat loss phase, start doing this now, because that's going to help with your appetite, your cravings, so you're not ravenous all the time. It's also going to give you a lot more energy and just help improve your quality of life. Also, you need to have some form of metric to track so that you can course correct as time goes on. And when I'm in a fat loss phase, I'm going to be weighing every single day. And even when I'm not, I'm going to be weighing in multiple times throughout the week. And this just keeps things top of mind. If my weight is trending up, 3 weeks in a row, 4 weeks in a row, I can actively decide, okay, I need to rein things in a little bit. I need to make some small adjustments here and there. Maybe I started drinking regular soda again, or maybe I started snacking a little bit more unnecessarily. And it's a really great way to keep a pulse on what's going on so that you can always course correct before it gets out of hand. And that doesn't have to be weight. Weight is just one, but it could be body measurements, it could be progress photos, it could be how your clothes are fitting, whatever you think would work best for you. And remember, maintenance is a range and you have to decide what you're comfortable with. All right, save this video, come back to it later. I know there was a lot. I hope you were taking notes, but if not, save it so that you can always refer back to it. I hope this was helpful. If something stuck out to you, I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. And if you have any questions, I'll leave my email down in the description for you, as well as my online coaching application if you want to take the guesswork out of all of this, and you also need some more motivation and support on this journey as well. See you in the next one.